In this video, I'm going to show you how to add a drop shadow in Canva. I'm going to use this for a printable because that's the product that I sell, but you can find other drop shadows in Canva as well, but this one's geared towards if you make printables. So there's a few different ways that you can do it, ranging from what I think is the most easiest to what is the most time consuming, but it depends on what look you want to give your printables. So the easiest way is to use a drop shadow that someone else has already created. So if you go to the elements menu and you type in, I like to do mockup drop shadow, and then if we go see all on photos, it'll give you some options here. Now these do require a pro subscription, so you do need Canva Pro for these. So if you only have the free version, then keep watching, I'll give you some alternatives. So when you find one that you like, just click on it, it'll be added to your template. And then you can go to your uploads and add whatever you want to use. I'm going to use one of my packing checklist printables. We'll just resize that down. And I like to have that, probably could have resized that up actually, like to have that about the same length as the drop shadow, maybe a little bit more. And then if you left click and drag to select both of them, you can go position center and then group them. And then you can see we have the drop shadow underneath. Now, because printables are usually going to have a white background because everyone prints on white paper, I recommend that you add a bit of color to the background of your page, just because it will make the printable stand out a bit more. So try and use a lighter color. You can use like a pastel pink, that's always quite popular, like a beige or a light gray or a light blue. So just move the little slider thing around until you find a color that you like, and then it will make your printable stand out a bit more. And if I was going to list this in my shop, I would add some words up the top here, like maybe travel printable. I'd put my shop name. I'd put the page size. I'd put a note if it's editable or any of all of that sort of stuff. So add those things, above and below. So you can do that if you have a single printable. That one works all right. But if you want a drop shadow that's maybe on the right side or underneath, then we'll do another option. So I'll just add a new page. We can instead go to design, and then you can see some that I've recently used here. For those, same thing, you can do printable mockup with drop shadow and it'll give you some different results. So this one is another variation of that single printable design that I just used, but you can see the drop shadow is slightly different effect here. And I just delete that weird window thing over the top because I don't like that. But you can quickly take one of these things that people have already created and then just use it for your own shop. And I don't think that's really cheating, it's just being efficient. You can then click and drag your design straight over the top, and it's already like formatted for you to the right size because they've used a frame, which I'll show you later on. So if we go back to design, say you want a different one, let's keep scrolling. Maybe like this one here. You can see that the drop shadow is on the right side and underneath on the left. So this one here is my preferred style. I like when I have the drop shadow on the right and underneath better than this one. And I think that this looks better when you have a lot of printables in your collection. I would not use this mock-up as they have created here because they've just copied and dragged in the same printable like 6 times, and that's just weird to me. I don't know why you would do that. I would use this if you had a set, and if you left click and drag, you can see that the design is actually off the template. So if you left click and drag your mouse in, you can then resize these down, and I would center them so that they're even. And then you could make another row, like another copy of this, and add that. So if you had a whole collection, then you can easily customize one of these pre-made templates to suit what you're working on. You can also create a new page and then just copy and paste that single design and then make it larger if you just had a single printable. So those are the options if you want to use a drop shadow that someone else has already created and done the work for you. But another option that you can do is create a new page, go to your uploads where you've uploaded your printable design, and then if you go up here to the edit menu, and you'll notice down here in effects, there's a shadows option, and you can add a drop shadow that way. This one is good if you want more control over the color, because you can see here, it's on black at the moment, but if you think that's a bit harsh, you can tone it down to a lighter gray, and usually I do tone it down. I don't have a set color code, like a hex code that I would recommend. I usually just drag the slider until I'm happy with it, and then I'll just copy and paste the same one again on whatever new listing image that I'm creating. You can also do some more tweaking here with things like the angle. If you want it to be up the top and the right side instead of down the bottom and the right side or left, etc. So this one just gives you much more control if you use this option, change all the intensity, etc. I'll leave you to muck around with those sliders until you're happy with something. You can do the curved effect this way as well, like in that first printable design that I showed you, but I would really pull that curve back because it's quite harsh. And yeah, I just don't like this one as much. I think this one looks a lot better. Another option, once you have got your printable, say this one, you can add after you've done all your drop shadow, I should just do this one actually. After you've added all your drop shadow and you're happy with it, you want to add a frame to this, so then you don't have to keep adding in every single printable, going to the edit menu, adding the shadow and choosing all of those settings. I wish that Canva had a format painter tool similar to Microsoft products where you can, just highlight some text or an element or something and it will apply the same formatting. Canva doesn't have that option. So my workaround for that is to add a frame. Okay, that's never happened before. I choose this first one here and make sure that you do have the square edges, because sometimes when I search rectangle frame, it'll come up with rounded edges and I don't like that. I want squared edges. And then I'm just going to resize this to suit the size of my printable that I made this template with, and make sure that there's no little white gaps underneath. Like you can see that still has a slight gap. And then we can drag, actually the top does as well, we can drag and drop our uploaded design on top of this and keep reusing our template that way. So we drag and drop, and then if you had a different one, you just, again, drag and drop. So it's much faster to do that than to re-add a new printable like I was about to do there. The other option that you can do, which I personally don't like it, and I don't think it looks that great, but I'll give you the option in case you want it. So I'm going to do build you. Let's see. Actually, no. What if I do habit tracker? I uploaded one. Yeah, this one. I wanted to do this to show you for a landscape one, just for something different. So if we add a square, which I will turn into a rectangle, I'm going to make this slightly larger than the printable. And then I'm going to go position to back, and then you can resize depending on how much of a drop shadow you want to add. You can change, the shade of the gray, whatever else you want to do. And then I do the transparency here and I can pull that back a bit. So you can make like a DIY drop shadow that way, but I just think this doesn't look as good. It's not really like a shadow to me. It's more like a rectangle behind it. You can maybe pull that in a little bit, but make it like a 3D thing. But I don't really like this option. I'm only really giving you this option if you don't have Canva Pro, or for some reason you don't like this drop shadow effect here, then you could do this kind of hacked version with a rectangle. I find this quite annoying if you have a lot of printables on your design, so I wouldn't really recommend it unless you were just doing one printable. So I would just use a template that's already in Canva. Quite frankly, it's just the most quickest way. And then I would have a few different listing images. So I'd have a single image of the printable. And then if it's part of a bundle, then I would have some sort of banner or something here that says like also available or included in this set, refer to my other listings or something, so that if people have clicked on your printable, then it kind of invites them to go and check the rest of your shop and the rest of the collection. And I never used to split out my printables. I never used to have listings with just one printable. I used to only do bundles. But some people, I don't know why, they just prefer just the one printable. They don't want to pay. I mean, it's like twice the price, but you would get like 30 printables versus one. They seem quite happy to just pay for the one printable. So now that I've split them out, I do think you get more sales when you have the individual listing, and then you also have a bundle with multiple printables, and it also gets your listings up so you get more views. So I would have the single image. I would have a set like this, which shows all of the printables that are included. You can also have, there was a template in here like this where it shows, this one's actually probably better, where you've got the two printables. So have a few different listing images. You could do a real close-up of your printable as well. So if you have headings like this where it's a little hard to see, you could clip it and you could just show this top part as one of your photos for a closer look, show all the different color variations, include information about sizing, maybe have another image with like how to download information about your shop, your social media links, where they can find tips and tutorials, like printing tips, how to resize, all that sort of stuff. So you can easily get up to your 10 listing photos quite quickly. But I do think that the drop shadow just makes it look a bit more professional. You can overlay it on things like an iPad or a tablet like you see here, or put it on a clipboard or some other mock-ups like that, and you would do the same thing. You would just go into your templates and maybe do, I don't know, printable on a clipboard. Don't really like any of those ones. And my internet is being very slow. Okay, nothing's coming up. Maybe try elements and see in there in frames, or you can look for mock-up images as well. Something like this is what I'm thinking of. And some of these have drop shadows on them as well. That one's a bit boring. This one looks alright though, and you could add your printable on top of there. So have a think about how you want to do your listing images, but I would definitely recommend adding a drop shadow. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more Canva tutorials, and if you want more tutorials on making printables, then I have plenty on my YouTube channel as well.